I never knew the man locked in my office was a millionaire doctor. A shocking turn of events. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The phone rang, a shrill sound cutting through the silence, and my heart raced. It was just another mundane Tuesday, or so I thought. I was buried under mountains of paperwork, the fluorescent lights buzzing above me. My hands trembled as I worked late, drowning in deadlines and a sense of looming dread. The door creaked open, and in walked a man I hadn't expected. He was disheveled. His hair sticking up in odd directions. His clothes were too baggy, his shoes scuffed and worn. Every part of him seemed out of place. The moment I locked eyes with him, chills raced down my spine. There was something about his look, something that gave me pause. "Can I help you?" I forced the words out, my voice barely above a whisper. He didn't respond, he just stood there, staring. I tried to look past his wild appearance, to find some explanation, but the atmosphere thickened. Time seemed to stretch, each second heavy with unspoken secrets. Then, he spoke. "I'm not here to cause trouble." His voice was surprisingly soft, almost melodic, despite the fear lurking behind it. I leaned back, unsure whether to believe him or not. My heart thudded painfully in my chest. Suddenly, he pulled a faded ID from his pocket and slid it across my desk. I glanced down, my breath hitching. The name struck me like a blow, Dr. Alexander Finn, a renowned surgeon, a millionaire. How could this man, this ragged stranger, be the same person? I looked up, my mind racing. His eyes were filled with desperation, as though he was holding a light inside that could extinguish with a single breath. Questions flooded my mind. Why was he in my office? What had pushed him to this point, to hide away in such an ordinary place? I glanced around, half expecting someone to jump out and confront me. But no one did. The silence was deafening. My heart raced, a drum echoing in the stillness as I searched his face for answers, for something to latch onto. The weight of whatever he bore pressed down on us, heavy and suffocating. "I don't have much time," he said, his voice trembling. "I need your help." The desperation in his plea struck me like a jolt of electricity. My mouth went dry. What did he want from me? Did he even know who I was? I was just a paper pusher, a cog in the machine. Why would a millionaire doctor need my help? Outside, the world continued to move. Cars honked, sirens wailed, life went on. But in that moment, it felt like the universe folded in on itself. I felt preyed upon by an unseen force, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to get involved. A growing fear gripped me. His hands shook as he reached out, gripping the edge of my desk like it was the only thing tethering him to reality. "Please," he murmured. If him found, his words trailed off, a haunting finality hanging in the air. A million thoughts collided in my head. Could I trust him? What was he running from? My heart pounded, each beat urging me to help, yet a voice inside screamed for caution. Then he leaned closer, a flicker of hope crossing his weary face. "I promise, it's bigger than you think," and just like that, my world tilted on its axis. My chest tightened with the weight of uncertainty. What had I walked into? I felt the ground shift beneath me, and a part of me wanted to escape this unsettling reality. But another part, some deep, visceral instinct was drawn in, like a moth to a flame. I could almost see the shadows of truths lurking just out of reach. I had to know. "Help you with what?" I finally asked, the tremor in my voice revealing my fear. He drew a sharp breath, and for a moment, silence hung between us like a loaded gun. Whatever it was, whatever labyrinthine secrets lay at the heart of this fractured man, I felt my breath catch in my throat. "Just promise me you won't judge," he said, his voice cracking. Would I? In that moment, I didn't know. All I knew was that the walls felt closer, the shadows darker. I needed answers. But as his eyes locked onto mine, I realized I was standing on the edge of something explosive, something I could never unsee. "Hey, Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The air thickened between us, heavy with unuttered secrets and the looming shadows of fear. Dr. Finn's desperation pierced the silence like a knife, dragging me into the chaos wrapped around him. Please, just listen, he implored, his voice a soft breeze against the tempest within me. I hesitated, glancing at the clock on the wall, its hands moving almost mockingly, oblivious to the turmoil that had invaded my life. I couldn't afford to waste time, nor could I shake the unsettling feeling that I was now part of something larger than either of us. Okay, I whispered, my voice shaking. What do you need? His eyes flickered with an emotion I couldn't quite decipher. Fear, yes, but also a flicker of hope. I need you to understand what I'm hiding, why I need to disappear. I nodded, urging him to continue. My own pulse was racing, curiosity fought against the gnawing worry that surrounded us like a dark cloud. Go on. He took a deep breath, closing his eyes for a moment, as if pulling together the fragments of his shattered resolve. When he opened them, there was a vulnerability there that pulled at my heart. There's a scandal, something that threatens not just my life but my family's. People will kill to keep it buried. The gravity of his statement hit me like a physical blow. My mind raced, painting grim pictures of what might be lurking behind his words. But I couldn't interrupt him. I had to let him speak, to let the truth spill out, no matter how terrifying it might be. It started months ago. I stumbled upon something I shouldn't have: medical records, details about experimental treatments, things that were covered up. His voice trembled, and I could see the anguish washing over him. I thought I could do the right thing. I was naive. Fear coiled within me, squeezing at my heart. What kind of treatments? I can't say much, not yet. He glanced nervously toward the door, as though the walls themselves had ears. But I realized the lives at stake, the risks, the corruption. They don't want this getting out. I shifted in my seat, my world expanding and contracting simultaneously. What had I gotten myself into? The gravity of the situation felt surreal, yet Dr. Finn's presence, frayed and raw, made it all too real. So what do you want me to do? I need your help to leak the information, to get it into the right hands. Every word came out rushed, yet laced with urgency and desperation. But first, I need a safe place to hide for myself, for my family. I'm a target now. My chest felt tight. But I don't know anyone important. I'm just me. Doubt crawled into my throat, pulling me back from the edge of conviction. Could I really get involved in something so dangerous? Believe me, he replied, urgency flickering in his eyes. You're the only person I can trust. If you don't help me, I won't make it out of this. For an agonizing moment, I was struck by the weight of the decision hanging in the air. My mundane life contrasted almost painfully with the storm brewing before me. But as I looked into his eyes, I could see the shadows of fear. His fear reflected my own, a shared uncertainty binding us. I don't know if I can handle this, I managed, desperate for a way out, yet betraying the urging pull that urged me to act. Just then, surprisingly, a knock echoed from the door. The sound sliced through the tension, and my heart skipped a beat. Dr. Finn's face paled, his wild eyes darting to the door. We need to hide, he hissed, lunging towards me, panic radiating from his every movement. Who is it? I whispered, my heart racing as dread wrapped around my throat. Just watch the door, he urged, his voice a tense whisper, like a thread of life hanging by a fragile cord. I glanced towards the door, the darkness seeping closer, as if the shadows were aware of the turmoil unfolding within these four walls. Each second felt like an eternity, my breath caught in my throat. The knock had been only a momentary disturbance, but it could turn into something more sinister. Then, I heard the soft call of my boss from outside. "Hey! Can I come in?" The voice echoed, oblivious to the sanctuary of chaos that was rapidly forming. Dr. Finn's eyes widened, a silent plea reflecting the fear thrumming in the air. Desperation clawed at my insides as I weighed my options, knowing that behind that door concealed everything I had tried to shield myself from. What choices would I make in this moment? I grasped the armrest of my chair, my nails digging into the wood, framed between panic and the desire to protect. Should I answer? Or let him in? My pulse raced with each thud in my chest, as the uncertain future loomed ahead, promising to reveal even greater dangers lurking just beyond the horizon. The moment stretched, a taut wire threatening to snap under the weight of uncertainty. My boss's knocks became more insistent, echoing down the corridor as if demanding entry into a reality I wasn't ready to face. Dr. Finn's eyes bore into mine, pleading for silence, the urgency in his presence drowning out everything else that I felt, trapped not only in this small office with a man who had become a stranger despite the vulnerability he wore so openly, but also in a life that seemed to be slipping through my fingers like sand. "Do I open the door?" I whispered, my voice barely audible, echoing against the heavy silence. "Please don't," Dr. Finn implored, his voice coated with a desperation that made my stomach twist. I glanced back at the door, the possibility of normalcy lurking just outside. If I opened that door, would my life return to what it was? Safe and predictable? Or would it unravel further, exposing me to the unpredictable chaos of Dr. Finn's world? "I can't just leave you here," I said, struggling against the weight of my own instincts. "Just trust me," he replied, his voice threading through my turmoil like a lifeline. "If they find me, if people like my boss and others learn I'm here talking to you, it could cost us both everything." Every heartbeat thudded loudly in my ears as I reached for the doorknob, uncertain. Maybe I could deflect his questions. I didn't want to get swept away in this storm, but his fear was infectious, grounding my own swirling doubts into clarity. "Look," I said, my heart throbbing with each word, "I can't let you just sit here. I have to get to the bottom of this." Before he could respond, another knock broke through the air, forcing my pulse to spike again. "Come on. I really need to talk to you." My boss' voice was earnest, filled with urgency. "It's important." Dr. Finn stiffened beside me, his body coiling tighter as though preparing to spring away. The tension between us crackled like electricity in the air. Time slowed, knitting together our collective fears. We were both at the precipice of no return. "That I am going to have to do something," I breathed, resolving myself. "You need to hide, now." Dr. Finn looked at me, a mix of gratitude and anguish reflected in his gaze. "If they find out I'm here, I know," I interjected, cutting him off. "I'll figure something out." In a moment that felt simultaneously fleeting and monumental, I urged him towards the storage closet nestled beside my desk, its cracked wooden door almost calling out to be opened. Dr. Finn hesitated, his breath coming in short, panicked bursts, but when I gestured fervently, he nodded and slipped inside. I quickly closed the door just as the next wave of knocks rattled the office, louder now, insistent. "Just a minute," I shouted, positioning myself behind my desk, my heart racing, dreading the conversation that lay ahead. "Is everything okay?" My boss replied, concern tinging his voice. "Yeah, just some paperwork, give me a second." I could hear the tremor in my own voice, and I cursed under my breath. "Look, it's important I see you." "It's about Dr. Finn," he urged, the weight of his words striking me like a thunderclap. My breath caught, the very mention of the doctor feeling like a betrayal against the fragile barrier I had erected to shield us both. "About Dr. Finn?" I echoed, pretending to be casual. "What do you mean?" "Something's come up that you need to know. It could change everything." His words hung in the air, heavy with implication and dread. "Is he in trouble?" I blurted out, my mind racing. "Just let me in so we can talk," he pressed, impatience creeping into his voice. I had a decision to make. He clawed at me with talons of anxiety. If I opened the door, I'd invite him further into the chaos, into a truth I could barely comprehend. If I didn't, Dr. Finn might thank me for my loyalty but also risk being cornered in the dark. Before I could answer, an inexplicably loud crash reverberated down the hall, enough to make my heart freeze. It echoed ominously, sending shivers down my spine. In that instant, I saw the unfolding shadows of reality. It wasn't only my life that was at stake now. Did you hear that? I snapped, my voice rising involuntarily. Yeah, what was that? My boss replied, now sounding cautious. Dr. Finn's eyes were wide with fear, his breath hitching within the confines of that tiny closet, and I felt a deep surge of empathy for him. Suddenly, my instincts kicked in, the very same instincts that had kept me safe all my life now screamed at me to act. That I turned abruptly and opened the door just enough so that it wouldn't reveal Dr. Finn, but I could murmur to my boss, "Come back later, please. It's really not a good time," but he stepped forward, resolute. "No, I can't do that. This is bigger than you think, and you need to understand what's happening with him." My heart dropped, a sinister chill creeping up my spine. "What are you talking about?" Before he could answer, the crash sounded again, closer now, shattering whatever fragile control I thought I had. My gut twisted with a knowing dread. Whatever was coming was going to change everything, and it was already gnawing at my heels, relentless and terrifying. That I needed to protect both of us, but as my mind raced with uncertainty, I felt a cold, creeping realization hit me hard. This was no longer just about Dr. Finn's safety, it was about mine, too. And there was no telling how deep this rabbit hole went or what awaited us on the other side. The air hung thick with tension, the kind that could compress a room into suffocating silence. I could hear the distant rumble of footsteps approaching, heavy and foreboding. I was aware of Dr. Finn's presence mere inches away, hidden in the dark confines of that closet. I clutched the edge of my desk, the wood biting into my palms, grounding me against the uncertainty that loomed ahead. My boss's voice filtered through the door, apprehensive. "This isn't just your regular situation anymore. You need to know who you're dealing with." "What do you mean?" I countered, my heart racing as I tried to project calm despite the tempest brewing inside me. "What's going on? There are people involved, powerful people. They won't stop until they get what they want," he said, his tone low and conspiratorial. "And they're coming for Dr. Finn. I don't know how you got mixed up in this, but trust me, you need to protect yourself." Those words hit me like a lash. I had pulled Dr. Finn into my world, into my life filled with mundane struggles and fleeting joys, and now I was forced to confront the weight of a reality I had never considered. "Protect myself?" I echoed, my thoughts reeling. "What does that even mean? Just open that door and let me help you." "I can explain everything," he implored, but in that moment, all I could think about was the man huddled in the dark, a man whom I had done everything to shield, even if it had been only for a fleeting moment. Outside the door, the faint sound of hurried footsteps echoed slightly louder. "We need to talk now, before it's too late," he insisted, and there was an edge of urgency creeping into his voice that I couldn't ignore. I pressed my fingers against my lips, trying to silence the frantic rhythm of my heart. Could I trust him? Could he really protect us both, or would his involvement only lead to deeper consequences? I glanced towards the closet, a silent plea shared between Dr. Finn and me. Whatever danger he was running from, it felt as if it was now mine as well. "Please, just listen," my boss continued. "Dr. Finn's in deep trouble, and his past, it's not something that stays hidden for long." The walls felt like they were closing in, the office shrinking to a pocket of confusion and fear as my mind raced. Suddenly, the crashing sound returned, louder this time, like a herald of doom echoing through the building. "Did you hear that?" I whispered, panic rising in my throat. "I know they're here," my boss replied, a shimmer of real terror piercing through his voice. "You must trust me. Whatever history Dr. Finn has, it's dangerous." My vision blurred at the edges as clarity poured in. He wasn't just trying to save himself, was trying to protect me too. I could feel the heat of this truth washing over me. "I need a moment," I murmured, a decision forming amidst the chaos swirling in my heart. "Just give me a second." Before he could argue, I shut the door partially and slid into the dimly lit space beside the closet. Dr. Finn, I whispered urgently, his presence filling the air like a shadow, do you trust him? The silence that followed was unsettling. Then, faintly, I could hear a deep breath escaping him. I don't know, he admitted, his voice quaking. But I can't let them find me here. It's not safe for you. In that fleeting moment, I felt his fear. It was tangible, and it settled deep between us. No matter what, I'm here. We can get through this, I implored, feeling the weight of his world weighing heavily on me as well. Just then, the door burst open with a bang, startling me into the present. My boss stepped inside, eyes wide with a mix of relieved horror and alarm. What are you doing? They're coming. A shadow loomed behind him, a figure garbed in black, a mask covering their face. The sight sent ice flooding my veins as realization dawned. It wasn't merely a perilous situation, it was an avalanche that threatened to consume us all. Run! I shouted, grabbing Dr. Finn's hand, my pulse racing with each breath. But instead of escape, the doorway filled with shadows, the unmistakable intent of the intruder visible in their stance. Do you really think you can hide him? The enigmatic intruder questioned, their voice smooth but laced with malice. You don't know who you're trying to protect. Dr. Finn squeezed my hand tighter, and in that moment, defiance surged through me. Maybe I didn't know everything there was to know about him, but I understood something inherently significant. I was not going to let anyone tear us apart. With adrenaline surging through every part of me, I shouted, "Stay behind me." If only for a fleeting second, I felt a fierce sense of courage, a spark igniting the hope that we might somehow escape this nightmare. But as I prepared to confront that looming figure, a chilling thought flashed through my mind. What awaited us beyond that office door was a whole new world of threats, and we were standing on the threshold, one step away from everything changing forever. And we were out of time. The intruders stepped inside, their silhouette darkening the threshold of the office like a gathering storm. I could feel every heartbeat thrumming within my chest, pounding louder than the chaos outside. You don't know who you're trying to protect, they sneered again, an unsettling grin creeping beneath the mask. Dr. Finn's grip around my wrist intensified, a tight anchoring as if he could sense my rising fear and wanted to pull me back to safety. With each passing second, the air grew heavier like a thick fog of dread enveloping us, choking any remaining determination. Let him go! I shouted, surprising myself with the assertiveness in my voice. You have no idea who you're dealing with. The defiance felt hollow, but it filled the cracks within me, pushing back against the suffocating panic. The shadowed figure tilted their head, amused. Oh, I know exactly who he is. Dr. Finn, the enigmatic genius. But genius comes with a price, doesn't it? They stepped closer, and the air shifted uncomfortably as if they were siphoning off my confidence with their very presence. Enough games, my boss interjected, his voice a strange mix of authority and desperation. This isn't the place for threats. He edged forward, trying to pull me behind him. You know this won't end well for you if you don't leave now. An awkward pause stretched between us, filled with a cacophony of emotions: fear, anger, confusion, but most of all, a peculiar flicker of hope. Perhaps this was a moment to challenge the darkness engulfing us, to stand firm against the shadow threatening to consume our world. But just as I opened my mouth to speak again, Dr. Finn whispered fiercely, "Don't engage with them." His voice trembled with urgency, a stark reminder that amidst the turmoil, my concern for his safety had to come first. As if sensing the shift in our dynamics, the intruder let out a low chuckle. Oh, he's aware of what dangers lurk here. But what he doesn't understand is that wealth can be both a shield and a weapon. And Dr. Finn has made plenty of enemies. The revelation landed on me like a weight. Wealth? Enemies? A life beyond this office that I couldn't yet comprehend? My mind spiraled with questions as I glanced at Finn, his expression a mixture of pain and resignation. What kind of world had he been hiding from me, and why hadn't he trusted me with the truth? "I won't let you take him," I said defiantly, more for my own conviction than anything else. The figure paced around us, eyes glinting with ill intent. "Brave, but foolish. You can't save him from his past. These figures that haunt him, they always find a way back. Enough. My boss thundered, stepping forward. You'll regret this if you don't leave now, their laughter echoed hollowly, sending a chill racing down my spine. Regret? Oh, I thrive on chaos. And there's plenty more where that came from. I glanced at Dr. Finn, and in that moment, our eyes locked, an unspoken conversation passing between us lit with fear and a flicker of understanding. We hadn't chosen this chaos, but we had the chance to confront it together. Before any of us could act, the silence shattered. The door swung wide open, and a new figure burst into the room, a second intruder, this one armed and clearly intent on something far more sinister. The chaos had escalated, the walls closing in like a trap. Time's up. The new figure exclaimed with an intensity that filled every corner of the room. My heart raced, my breath quickened, and I felt the coldest grip of terror wrap around my throat. Where had they come from, and what would happen to us now? Dr. Finn jerked back slightly, his features contorting in a blend of shock and recognition. No, he whispered, almost inaudibly. You weren't supposed to come here. What do you mean? I asked, my voice wavering. Who are they? The weight of dread sank deeper into my chest as the truth dawned on me. The connection between Dr. Finn and these intruders was more complex than I could imagine, a tangled web of shadows that I was only beginning to unravel. I know what I have to do, he replied, a steely resolve hardening his voice. But you need to run. Run? I stuttered, the disbelief draping over me like a dark curtain. I'm not leaving you here. But before any decision could be made, the sound of footsteps echoed again down the hallway, loud and relentless. The intruders exchanged a knowing glance, a silent agreement anchoring their intent. In the end, the first intruder said, their voice laced with malice, no one will remember your names. Only the echoes of what once was. As they advanced toward us, the stark reality of our situation crashed down around me. Dr. Finn's past wasn't just a story waiting to unfold, it was a storm that had come to claim what it deemed its own, pulling me deeper into the vortex of danger. And amidst the flashing chaos, a thought struck me: were these two men, really? Would revealing the truth save us, or was it yet another trap leading us into a darkness I had yet to understand? As I grasped Dr. Finn's hand tighter, adrenaline surging through my veins, we were no longer just fleeing from danger. We were racing against the unfolding shadows of $1 million lie. The footsteps grew louder as if each thud echoed in my very soul, a grim reminder of the urgency that pulsed through the air. Time collapsed into moments stretched thin, and as I clutched Dr. Finn's hand, I felt the warmth of his skin against the cold reality of our predicament. Listen to me, he said, his voice low but intense. If they get their hands on me, everything changes: your life, your safety. You don't know what they're capable of. Every word pulled at my heart, twisting around layers of loyalty, confusion, and an insatiable need to protect him. Then tell me what I need to know. I implored, desperate for clarity amidst the chaos. I can't just leave you here. If you're in danger, why haven't you shared this with me before? But before he could respond, the second intruder stepped forward, weapon raised, their eyes glinting with malicious excitement. Oh, precious doctor, your secrets are far more interesting than I anticipated. There was a tremor of delight in their voice, like a predator toying with its prey. Stay back. I exclaimed, instinctively positioning myself between them and Dr. Finn. The act felt both ridiculous and noble, a futile shield against the impending threat, but it was all I had. Do you truly believe your life is worth less than his? The first intruder sneered, stepping in closer, their shadow growing like a dark tide. You're just a pawn in this game. A distraction. And distractions can easily be removed. Get away from her. Dr. Finn's voice boomed, a depth of protection igniting the air. He wrenched himself from my grasp, stepping forward defiantly. I could never let them harm you. This sudden shift, it was ferocious and beautiful, a moment where his essence shone through the despair. The intruders hesitated, their expressions shifting from confident malice to something more uncertain. In the stillness that followed, I could see the wild pulse of determination in his eyes, a man unwilling to cower beneath the weight of his past, ready to confront the chaos he had wrought. I reached out for him, an unsteady promise that I wouldn't back down, that we could face this storm, together. Suddenly, I heard a muffled voice through the glass panel of the door, the distant sound of a commotion building. There were shouts, confusion, and the promise of reinforcements on the way. For a moment, a flicker of hope ignited within my heart. "Help is coming!" I shouted, my voice filling with urgency. "We just have to hold on for a few more moments," but Dr. Finn's brow furrowed in despair as his eyes darted back to the intruders. "It won't help. They'll find a way out before anyone arrives. This is a game, and they've stacked the deck in their favor. No, I insisted, feeling the electricity of determination surge again. "There must be something we can do, some way to outsmart them. You know things, use that genius of yours to turn the tide." Just then, a flash of recognition ignited in Dr. Finn's eyes as he studied something beyond the intruders, reaching back into the past for answers. "Wait. I might have a distraction of my own." He leaned in close, dropping his voice to a conspiratorial whisper, "Trust me, but you have to be ready to act without hesitation." I nodded, my heart racing, hanging on his every word. Before he could elaborate, the door suddenly slammed open, revealing a third figure, another unfamiliar face that caught all of us off guard. My breath hitched in my throat as they stepped inside, their intent unclear. The newcomers exchanged glances, a rapid communication of questions and answers that I couldn't decipher. "You're not meant to be here." One of them spat, their eyes scanning the scene, drawn to the tension that thickened the air like a noose, and then, as if the universe relished in its ability to twist our fates, the original pair of intruders stepped back, visibly rattled by this unexpected arrival. "You're early," the first intruder sneered, but there was a crack in their confidence, a flicker of fear igniting in their gaze. "Who sent you?" the newcomer demanded, pushing their way past us, eyes flaring as they assessed Dr. Finn and the looming threat. But just as I thought we might shift the balance in our favor, the second intruder caught sight of a glimmer, a weapon beneath a desk, the only hope we had at that moment. "Look out!" I cried, adrenaline making my heart thunder in my ears. In an instant, chaos erupted again, but I couldn't tell if it was the beginning of hope or the darkening of our doom. Dr. Finn's desperate gaze locked onto mine, and in that fleeting moment, I saw more than fear. I saw a promise, a shared understanding of the storm we would face together even as the shadows grew thick around us. As the tension exploded, one crucial thought pierced through the fray: who was truly the enemy here? And what would happen when the dust settled? The answer loomed just beyond reach, buried beneath layers of lies and the piercing truth of a millionaire's hidden life, and I might be the key to unlocking it all. The chaos whirled around us, an unforgiving storm of voices, fears, and fragmented intentions. The sight of the weapon beneath the desk ignited a primal instinct, and I couldn't help but feel the weight of the decision I had to make pressing down upon my chest like a vice. In that heartbeat, everything hinged on action. "Dr. Finn!" I shouted above the cacophony, my heart racing. "Cover me!" I dashed towards the desk, my hand outstretched as I risked exposure. The gun glimmered under a layer of dust, and as I grasped it, I stole a glance back. Dr. Finn stood there, his posture unwavering, yet shadows of torment crossed his features. Desperation flickered in his eyes as he shouted at me, Don't point that at anyone, but we can't wait for help any longer." I shot back, the weapon trembling in my grip, more a symbol of my courage than a true means of defense. The newcomer had assumed a defensive stance, their hands raised as they slowly backed away from the encroaching threats, keeping their eyes locked on the tension in the room. "You have no idea what you're getting into, kid," they said, their voice steady, almost soothing among the rising tempers. "This isn't a game, maybe not for you," I bit out, still holding the gun close. "But for us, it's a fight for survival." The energy shifted, and I could sense an unfamiliar line forming, a wild underpinning of chaos juxtaposed with an urgent need for resolution. The original intruders exchanged murmurs, fear now coloring their bravado. The newcomer must have sensed it too, for they leapt forward, seizing the moment. Listen to me. If we can keep them distracted just long enough, we might be able to turn the tables. Turn the tables? One of the intruders sneered, stepping forward. You think creative storytelling will save you from what's coming? Not just storytelling, the newcomer replied, a strange fire igniting in their eyes. But truth. Sometimes the most powerful weapon is the truth. A ripple passed through the room, a flicker of confusion mingling with their malevolence. There was a chance, a potential pivot hidden in the overwhelming fear that threatened to drown us. As they hesitated, I looked back at Dr. Finn, our connection anchoring me as the world spiraled in madness. His gaze urged me on, a silent promise that I wouldn't be alone even in darkness. Without a second thought, fueled by the righteous fury brewing in me, I pointed the gun toward the ceiling and pulled the trigger. The deafening roar echoed, ricocheting through the confined space like a symphony of rebellion against them. What the hell? One of the intruders yelped, raising their hands instinctively, the momentary distraction shattering their confidence like glass. Now. The newcomer shouted at me, create chaos. It's our only chance. Moving instinctively, I turned to the desk and began tossing items around: papers, pens, a cup of discarded coffee. It was petty and yet pivotal, a small rebellion against our would-be captors. The intruders, startled and bewildered, stumbled back, unsure of where to redirect their focus. Amidst the confusion, Dr. Finn found a moment to spring forward. This is real. And you are not prepared for what you are about to face, he warned, his voice carrying a gravitas that resonated with the truth of his words. The intruders appeared torn, their resolve fracturing under the weight of uncertainty. In an escape born of instinct, the third figure joined the fray, launching themselves at the nearest intruder. The two of them tumbled together, and as raw panic gripped me, a sudden realization hit. It wasn't just a struggle for survival anymore, it was a turning point, a recognition of humanity amidst the chaos. Finn. I called out, torn between the mayhem unfolding and the man I had come to care deeply for. He and I were caught in a web stitched together by fragile threads of trust, history, and an honesty that shone like a beacon against the chaos. As I ushered the desk closer for cover, my mind raced back to his words. The secrets he kept had drawn me here, but they also unlocked a deeper understanding of the bonds we shared in this harrowing crucible. Maybe I still didn't know everything about him, but I knew one thing for certain: this wasn't just his fight anymore. It was ours. With my heart racing, I prepared for the next move, a pulse of hope quickening my spirit. Then, a visceral shock jolted through me. A piercing scream broke the tumult, cutting through layers of confusion. My head snapped to the source, and I was met with the sight of one of the intruders collapsed on the ground, their hand clutching a bleeding wound. The revelation unfurled like a dark blossom. Who had taken that shot? Was help finally arriving, or had we unintentionally unleashed a different form of chaos? And hovering just beyond this moment of hope was an unshakable truth: the danger was multiplying, and in this game of shadows, clarity felt elusive. What would this revelation bring, and at what cost? In this tangled web of survival, it became clear I was about to learn just how deep the rabbit hole went, and the stakes were higher than any of us could fathom. As the chaos clung to us like a fog, a sharp breath caught in my throat, intermingling fear with another wave of adrenaline. The intruder on the ground writhed in pain, their face a mask of shock and fury. I felt the weight shift in the room, tension tightening like a noose. Everything I thought I understood about our situation began to fray. What did you do? I roared, struggling to comprehend the gravity of the moment. We couldn't have. My thoughts scrambled. Had one of us unintentionally become a shooter? I locked eyes with Dr. Finn, searching for answers in his gaze, but it only mirrored my confusion. The newcomer stepped closer to the wounded intruder, stooping low to check their pulse. We need to stop the bleeding, they said urgently, their voice steady even as fear threaded its way into their tone. Someone find something to staunch the wound. Doctor. Finn's voice cut through the tension like a blade. You don't think they'll just let us help them, do you? This is a trap. We're outnumbered. There's no time for that. The newcomer snapped, their eyes darkening with determination. We have to try. This might lead to a negotiation. I felt the tremor in my hands as I absorbed their words, the weight of the gun still gleaming ominously in my grip. This moment of compass Iona chance to extend an olive branch amid peril felt absurd, like a candle flickering in a tempest. As I pushed back the tide of desperation, I struggled to remember who we were amid this unfolding chaos, but all I could see was blood and fear. Doctor. Finn's steady voice re-emerged from the storm. We remain safe in this moment. One act of kindness can be twisted against you, he warned, each word heavy with years of experience and regret. You risk everything by showing vulnerability, but vulnerability, I realized, was also a form of strength. We can't just leave them to die, Finn. We've fought for our lives. What happens if we become the monsters? A desperate glance exchanged between us, a silent acknowledgement that our humanity lay in the choices we made now. Caught between fear and compassion, my pulse thundered in my ears. My eyes darted back to the figure on the ground, their breaths shallow, growing frantic. Someone get the first aid kit. I yelled, carving through the echoes of panic that clawed at my resolve. Ill help, the newcomer insisted, their determination a tenacious ember in the suffocating dark. I watched as they ignored Dr. Finn's warning, moving with an eerie grace to find supplies. Are you sure that's wise? Finn asked, a knot filling his throat as he glanced at me. Before I could respond, a strange wave of clarity washed over me. The bond forged amidst this turmoil had become a filament tying us together. I couldn't lose that bond to the same darkness threatening us now. As the newcomer pulled together a makeshift attempt to stabilize the intruder, a small moment of warmth sparked within me, mingled with the madness. It was remarkable to see someone willing to lay it all on the line, to risk everything for an unknown foe. Just hold on, okay? They murmured, pressing gauze to the wound as the blood seeped through. You need to help us, or this whole thing goes south. There was an unexpected gentleness, a softness that struck me as profound in the midst of harsh brutality. The intruder's brow furrowed, their pain intermingled with confusion. Already hearing the threat of their own impending doom echoed back at them. Why would you help me? They gasped through gritted teeth. Because there's still something worth fighting for, the newcomer replied, their calm an ember in the dark. Not just your life, but maybe even ours. Yet just as the tension seemed to settle, the door creaked open, a shadow passing through the crack before it swung wide. I recoiled instinctively, gripping the gun tighter, heart thudding in my ears. A figure emerged, silhouette backlit by the glimmering hallway beyond, unfamiliar, tall, and imposing. The room held its collective breath as every heart drummed the same existential rhythm. I see you've chosen compassion over survival, the new arrival said. Their voice dripping with contempt as they scanned the scene. What a foolish mistake you've made. As eyes locked onto mine, a terrifying realization sank in. The interloper was the person I had been warned about, the orchestrator of this chaos. The realization felt like ice water coursing through my veins. What have you done? I managed to whisper, the truth dawning like a dark specter looming over us. The stakes had just escalated, and now the game was about to take a turn none of us had prepared for. Welcome to my world, they smirked, and I felt hope slip through my fingers like grains of sand. Just when I thought I was becoming a part of something greater, the threat loomed larger, binding me in a web of uncertainty and fear from which I couldn't escape. The battle was only beginning, and I was about to discover just how deep the deception ran, because within the heart of this tumult lay secrets that would shatter everything I thought I knew. The air thickened as the new arrivals stepped into the room, their figure imposing, as if they fed off our collective dread. Shadows flickered across their face, making it impossible to decipher their intentions. You've made your choice, they sneered, eyes dancing with a mix of derision and interest. But compassion has a price. Doctor. Finn's shoulders tensed, his instincts burning. What do you want from us? He challenged, his voice steady but edged with the threat of betrayal. The newcomer stepped closer, the shifting light revealing a face I never thought I would see. Again, a face I once trusted. Tell me you didn't think I'd simply let you walk away. The familiar features, now twisted with malevolence, ignited an array of emotions within me. Memories crashed into focus, long-buried echoes of secrets and laughter intertwining with the horrors of this moment. The intruder on the ground winced, rasping for air, and the newcomer's attention flickered between them and us. "You see," they continued, their tone almost gleeful, "this is all part of a grander plan. The layers of trust are thin in a world like this, aren't they? Did you think you were the only ones capable of playing the game?" Disbelief coursed through me, confusion morphing into a visceral horror. With every word spoken, the shards of my past crumbled. This person, someone I once considered a friend, was wrapped up not just in deception but in an elaborate scheme, one that felt sewn into the very fabric of this nightmare. "Why?" I croaked, struggling to make sense of it all. "Why are you doing this to us? You once cared? They interrupted, venom dripping from their voice. "There was never love here, only ambition. Only power." The intruder groaned in pain, a reminder of the stakes. "And now you stand at a crossroads. Continue this foolish act of mercy, and watch everything collapse. Or turn the page and join my little revolution, but at what cost?" The newcomer, who had been tending to the intruder, pleaded, their voice laced with frustration and hopelessness. "You can't truly mean this, can't I?" My former friend stepped closer to the injured figure, eyes glinting with manic energy. "You've tasted blood now. You know what it's like to take a life. The lines are blurred, and denial is but a fading light." The darkness seeping into my soul felt like an unwelcome guest. "I refuse to believe you," I managed, looking beyond their tainted words. My heart was pounding each beat a plea to reclaim the sense of right I desperately clung to. "This is no time for naivete," they shot back, eyes narrowing dangerously as they spat. "Your idealism won't save you. You need to wake up and realize where you are." Suddenly, the interloper on the ground gasped, eyes widening with a revelation of their own. "Wait, you were the ones who set this up, weren't you?" Panic surged through me, thick and choking. The trust one had once misplaced, the security I had clung to now felt like shrapnel in my gut. I looked at Dr. Finn, his expression revealing every disquieting thought swirling in his mind. "We might be in deeper than we thought," he murmured, barely above a whisper. The newcomer, still crouched beside the injured figure, shook their head, disbelief mingling with regret. "You don't understand. You're being manipulated just as much as we are." My heart ached as their vulnerability cracked through the facade. I didn't want this. I thought we could change things, but as the realities of our situation swam before us, I felt tethered by a new thread, a combination of fear, anger, and something else simmering beneath the surface. What was it? Hope. Suddenly, the lights flickered ominously, casting eerie shadows upon the walls. An echoing thud came from outside, followed by frantic shouts. Tension spiked, electric and palpable, wrapping around my chest like a serpent squeezing tighter. I felt the newcomer's hand brush mine, searching for solace in this madness. "We can still find a way out," they urged softly. "Trust me," but how could I trust anyone in this room? Just moments ago, I had faced betrayal from someone so close, someone whose name I once spoke with reverence. The very foundations of my loyalty trembled beneath a flood of uncertainty. As I looked toward the door, the sounds grew louder, an irrefutable signal that our time was limited. But before I could respond, the figure who once called me friend stepped closer, eyes gleaming with manic excitement, casting a long shadow over our group. "Let the game begin," they declared, a sinister smile etching their face, one that mirrored the very darkness I had strived to resist. But the realization struck, heavy and cold. Perhaps I was not simply a player in a game, I was about to be thrust into a storm where choices no longer belonged to me. The room spun, and as my heart raced in my chest, I understood we were about to uncover far more than I had bargained for. I watched the door, the pounding growing ever more urgent. Time was slipping away. In this newfound chaos, I was a puppet tangled in strings of deceit, and I feared every twist would lead to my undoing. I raised the gun again, breath trembling, breathless as I waited for the next move. The door burst open with a resounding crash, halting everything in an instant. A flood of officers poured into the room, the sound of boots hitting the floor echoing through the chaos like a bell tolling. This was it, our moment of reckoning. But as I tried to regain my bearings, I felt the oppressive weight of despair choke every ounce of hope inside me. "Drop your weapons!" An officer shouted, their voice slicing through the tension like a knife, reverberating against the walls of fear that had bound us. The intruders froze, their bravado flickered before my eyes as one of them changed from hunter to prey in a heartbeat, ready to bolt. Dr. Finn's words rang through the tumult. "Don't, wait," he shouted, but in that breath, chaos erupted again. The newcomer beside me dove toward the fallen intruder, trying to shield them, trying to protect something even in that moment of madness. The conflict stretched like a taut wire, and I felt the world tilt, chaos swirling with every heartbeat. The fear of potential violence hung heavy, as did the thin veil of trust one had so precariously woven. All my instincts screamed to move closer to Dr. Finn, to protect him in whatever way I could, yet my feet felt rooted to the spot, watching as uncertainty tangled around every player in this grotesque drama. "Don't shoot!" I called, a desperate plea spilling forth as the officer aimed their weapon at us, body tense and ready, the atmosphere pregnant with potential terror. "We're not the enemy." In an instant, everything collided, the officers' voices, shouts of instructions echoing in every corner, the intruders caught in their web of lies, and Dr. Finn's steady presence giving me strength. I couldn't become a pawn in their game. We had to uphold our humanity, find a way to rise from this nightmare. Then, one of the intruders made a desperate move, lunging toward the table where I had just made my last stand. I braced myself, the moment felt suspended in air, everything coiling with tension. But Dr. Finn acted faster, driving forward with urgency. "Don't! You'll regret that if you do," he shouted, even as I felt my heart shatter at the thought of potential violence just ahead. Just as the figure reached for the weapon from under the desk, I seized the moment. I jumped in front of Dr. Finn, my arms raised as I cried out, "We're just trying to survive. Please, we don't want any more bloodshed." And then in that chaotic instant everything shifted, everyone paused, breath suspended in disbelief, and the officer's gaze wavered for the first time, uncertainty creeping into the hardened lines of their face. "You're telling the truth," the officer said. "But it ends now, no more lies." As if on cue, the laden weight of silence settled over the room, the air thick with unspoken fears and unyielding resolve. Every heartbeat sounded like a drum, the pulse of fear and survival thrumming louder than any weapon. Then it happened. The intruder on the ground gasped, their eyes searching around the room, pleading at the helpless chaos unfolding before them as they tried to catch their breath. "The truth will come out," they whimpered, gripping at the gauze desperately. "It isn't just about him," they croaked, their gaze flitting back to Dr. Finn, then landing on me. You didn't know, did you?" Every nerve flared at their words, insatiably curious yet terrified of the truth. "What are you talking about?" I gasped, feeling Dr. Finn's grip tighten on my arm, anchoring me against the crashing tide. "They're hunting him because of what he knows," the injured figure coughed, their voice wavering. "They won't stop until they bury him, until they bury the truth." The room held its breath again, stitches of reality unraveling and stitching new connections in place. In that buzzing silence, I felt clarity dawning. Theirs was a fight for survival that had entwined with mine. Dr. Finn's eyes met mine. In that fleeting glance, I could see the unspoken bond solidify, and then the moment passed, like a fragile promise to confront the chaos together. "What truth?" I demanded, squeezing his hand like a lifeline as I leaned closer, drawn deeper into the mantle of uncertainty that surrounded us. "You have to believe me," the intruder said, desperation thickening their words. Dr. Finn was framed. "They'll do whatever it takes to silence him before he can expose the truth. They don't just control lives, they control everything." The urgency in their voice bore into me, and within their struggle, I felt a burgeoning determination bloom. A figure among the officers stepped closer, their expression wavering, doubt flickering in their eyes. "So you're saying you're all victims?" They eyed us warily, gauging the tension thrumming around us, before addressing me. "Is that true?" "Yes." I nodded emphatically, pleading with my eyes for understanding. The moments hung like delicate threads between us, weaving a tapestry of truth amidst the darkness. We can't let them crush us like this. We need to expose the lies. The lives at stake, they matter. Dr. Finn's voice cut through the haze, filled with conviction. What they planned, it's a web of deceit. I have proof. He stepped forward, unyielding, just as the officer glanced sideways toward their peers, anxiety rippling through the room. Then show us, the officer pressed, voice edged with uncertainty but also a glimmer of belief. Everything. Prove it. The air crackled with anticipation, our future teetering on the balance of truth and hidden lies. A knot coiled in my chest. Could we really turn this around? The thought filled me with both hope and dread. Please, I urged, feeling the tremor of urgency intensify, we can't end this here. We can stop this, together. Then, in that moment of palpable uncertainty, I took the plunge. Finn. I called, do you have the files on your phone? I didn't know if he had it with him or if the chaotic pursuit had stripped him of everything, but in that moment, I felt the fragmented lines of our struggle align, pushing towards one singular truth. Dr. Finn's eyes widened, and I saw the resolve harden within them. Yes, he said, grounding me amidst the storm. In a few swift seconds, he produced his phone, holding it up like a banner of hope. As the officers leaned in closer, a sense of catharsis washed over past battles, the concealed secrets, the bond solidified under flickers of hope. Each thread was intricately woven together, leading to this moment. Look! I urged, vitality surging as the light transformed into something more. His trembling hand navigated the screen, revealing files, documents, everything we needed to expose the truth. This, he breathed, this will change everything. Time slowed as the realization of this shared journey washed over me. Each moment had drawn us closer together, hunting shadows that threatened to consume us whole. And in that fierce, fragile instant, we learned that the most profound weapon was unearthing truths and standing together against the chaos. Everything ends, I whispered, filled with the strength of our journey. But love and resilience will always take us forward to confront whatever comes next. Dr. Finn's eyes met mine, ours shimmering with hope, merging into the promise of a tomorrow worth fighting for. In the face of shadow, we chose light. Together, no matter where our struggles led. And with that, the opening of new doors echoed behind, promising depths we had yet to explore. In a world enveloped by chaos, we were finally standing in our truth, unwavering, unbroken, ready to embark on whatever path lay ahead. Because together, we were unstoppable. And light always finds a way to break through the darkness.